Good morning and welcome to another edition of All or Not According to Jack with your host, Jack Toledano. It is Super Bowl Sunday. Uh, it is now, what's it, Super Bowl 57? Wow, 57 freaking Super Bowls. And, and they all happened in my lifetime. Imagine that. So on this Super Bowl, on February 12th, 2023, it will be my enemy, the Philadelphia Eagles, against the Kansas City Chiefs. So we'll talk about my predictions later, but the burning question, and this has been nagging at me for a few weeks now. Again, apologize for not having any new content for a couple weeks, but last weekend I was up at the cabin, uh, doing a few things, celebrating my wife Susan's birthday. Uh, Boy, was it cold up there. Good to be back in balmy Long Island where it's like hovering in the 50s. But so what was I talking about? Uh, the Super Bowl. So anyway, yeah, so I hadn't had any new content, so combination of me uh, taking some time off and recharging my batteries and trying to plan for future episodes. So, and I am wearing my LT jersey, so he uh, he helped us celebrate a few couple of Super Bowls. So, New York Giants 4-1. So I always have that to look back on. But so the topic today, burning question, uh, and this is a rant, is football fixed? So my honest opinion. So I have a friend who lives in Arizona. Grew up with this friend. He's a Jet fan, and Jet fans to me are some of the most long-suffering fans that there are. They just can't catch a break. They don't get to the playoffs that often, and they the closest they've been to a Super Bowl was several years ago. I don't know, 10, 15 years ago when Bill Parcells was their coach. And he was a real football coach magician. He brought him from basically winning one freaking game that whole season to 2 years later winning the division, something they hadn't done in a long time. And they got to the conference championship game where they lost a heartbreaker to the Denver Broncos out in Denver. They were so freaking close to getting to the Super Bowl. Um, you know, Buddy Ryan's son, I forget his name. He got him, close a few times, but to no avail. But so this friend of mine is, has a few drinks in him, has, some drink some sour grapes, and starts to say, "Oh, the NFL's fixed. Uh, they they uh, they protect Tom Brady and they protect this quarterback and they protect that quarterback." And I'm like, dude, what about me? Giant fan here. They I had to endure basically in the 70s. This team was shit. They just didn't do anything. You had that miracle in the Maryland in the Meadowlands game against said Philadelphia Eagles, where somebody finally decided to hire one of those skywriting planes or whatever that has the banners trail them. You know, uh, 15 years of football, of lousy football, we've had enough. So his answer to that is like, oh, they were they were one of the flagship football teams. So naturally, the NFL helped you out and gave you George Young as what the hell was it? The general manager. But I'm like, wait a second. Yes, they gave him to us, but still had to go through the process. You still had to rehire the right coaching staff. You had to draft the right players. You had to train these players, get them up to NFL speed. Granted, we had a great freaking pick getting this guy, And happy birthday, Mr. LT, by the way. You are beloved in Giants Nation. Um, you know, and then we slowly rose. I think it was 81 where we finally made it to the postseason. Took many years for them to get back there. I don't think they had been in the postseason since the first Super Bowl at that point, which was, I think, what, 1967? Yeah. So anyway, yeah, so they got to that first playoffs in 81 against said hated Philadelphia fucking Eagles, and they beat them. But 9-7 record, they hovered around there. They a couple of years later, that Ray Perkins coach quit and went to Alabama, I think it was. So then you had Bill Parcells. He turned out to be a football magician, but just straightening out the NFL. So he wasn't a magician right away. They had a 3-win season. I think it was 83, 84. Then they had a 9-7 season. Then they had a 10-6 season. Uh, they were looking good until they went into Chicago and got shut out in the Windy City by the Bears. And the Bears were unstoppable that year. But next year was our year, 85, 86. I actually was already in school in New Paltz when that happened. And they won that first Super Bowl. But they had a 14-2 record that season. But you know what? Doesn't happen overnight. You didn't just, wave a wand and say, voila, next year you're going to have a Super Bowl. It took them, after they got George Young, it took them a good 5, 6, 7 years to become a team of prominence. And you know what? Even after they won that first Super Bowl, they, you there's parity in the NFL, and I think that's a good thing that you're not going to win it every year. But they won another one, maybe what, 3, 4 years later. But still good stuff. My team got there. I don't think the NFL is fixed. That's a nice little excuse to make that, unfortunately, take the Jets, for example, and the Detroit Lions and the Cleveland Browns. Their teams, those are two teams that have never been to the Super Bowl. I think the closest the Lions ever got was they got to the conference championship in, what was it, the early 90s? Yeah, I think the early 90s against, and got knocked off by the Redskins at that time. And the Browns got there in the mid 80s. They won a heartbreaker against the Jets, but then they lost a heartbreaker to the Dolphins. No, not the Dolphins, the Broncos. So it's the closest, but so I can see, and then I have a Raiders fan who complains the same thing. Oh, it's fixed, and you know, I I shudder to think that it's fixed as much as there is some bad officiating. You know, Granted, there's a lot of and it football is a very close contact sport. You got the linemen at each other on every play, and there's going to be some holding. And the blatant holdings and the takedowns, they throw the flag and they call it, but I don't think they can call it. If you called holding on every play, you wouldn't have a game. You would have to basically cancel the game. So there are ways around it. I mean, look at LT. He was like one of the first blitzing linebackers, and he changed the game, and he wasn't held very often. You thought of ways to, you engage your linemen, and then you have your linebackers go in on, unblocked. You come up with some schemes, and I'm thinking, thank God, looks like Wink Martindale's going to stay with the Giants another year, because if it wasn't for his blitzing schemes, who knows? Maybe we don't make it to the playoffs this year. So, I mean, the same could be said for hockey. I mean, you look at the NHL playoffs. It gets to the latter rounds, and oh, they have this unwritten rule. Oh, let them skate. They don't call penalties unless they're like absolutely blatant, which I think is wrong. But they don't want a penalty deciding the outcome of the game. So they kind of let them play in football. They pick up the penalty flag. So, it can be said that maybe hockey's fixed because of that. I mean, hockey's great to go see live, but my problem is there are too many rounds, too many games. Too freaking, it's like a second season. Whereas football's just right. One game each round. Uh, Winner advances, loser goes home. So I kind of like that. So let's talk about today's game. So two juggernauts. Nobody thought that the Kansas City Chiefs were going to make it today. Uh, Everybody thought that they were going to get beaten by the Cincinnati Bengals. And again, people were bitching that because the Bengals lost, the game's fixed. Bullshit. Bullshit. You know what? These are two very good teams. It was a close game, came down to the wire. I mean, you had that, what the hell was it? That unnecessary roughness play where the guy hit Mahomes just as he stepped over the line. Come on, that's something they do call all the time. It was sad that they called it there, but put him in field goal position, kick the field goal, game over. And but on the plus side, it was a very good game. Whereas the Eagles and the 49ers, that game fucking sucked. That game was over early. I mean, granted, me here wearing my Giant jersey, I didn't feel too bad because at least, you know what? Giants got trounced by the Eagles. So the the 49ers getting trounced by the Eagles, I didn't feel so bad. I did feel bad that the 49ers lost their quarterback. They were down to their fourth stringer. But you know what? Shit happens. You gotta have depth. You gotta be prepared. And so this year it is the Philadelphia Eagles and Kansas City Chiefs. And me, as a football purist, I always like to see new matchups. Now, this is a new matchup. I don't always like to see the same matchup. Like, you saw the Giants and the Patriots a few times. Years ago, you saw the Cowboys and the Steelers, 49ers and the Bengals. I want to see new matchups, and I got one this year, and I'm happy about that. So now my prediction, I'm sorry, I cannot. And I believe the spread is 1.5 in favor of the Eagles. But I'm going to go on a limb. I'm going to say that it will be close. I hope it's close. Uh, Eagles have a great defense. I don't think the Chiefs defense is as good as the Eagles, but you know what? They can rack up a lot of points on you. So I'm going to predict Chiefs are going to win 33-30. That will be my prediction. And yes, all those people, one of my coworkers, hi Mary, was talking about the over under. It's 50.5. I would definitely take the over. I think they'll hell, the freaking Eagles almost did the over on the Giants alone. What are you going to do? So yeah, so that's that. Enjoy the game. I know the halftime show is going to suck. It hasn't been good since the Who was there and Paul McCartney and Kiss and Metallica were on years ago, and then the pregame show. I think Aerosmith was there. I I don't want to hear my old rock band. So what I might be doing some show prep at that time. Uh, I have ranking the albums of oh, not Billy Joel, Black Sabbath that I'm working on should be coming up in the next few weeks. So getting back to Billy Joel, uh, I will be doing Monday night. I will be recording ranking the albums of Long Island's old Billy Joel, and I will be doing it with my large brother and friend, Aaron Kupperberg. I don't know if you remember him. He was on my show last year. We did a ranking the top 10 albums of Jethro Tull. So Aaron is a guy who wrote a book called Songs Stuck in My Head, where he does a lot of album rankings of power pop. So if you're into power pop, check that out. But I'm sure we'll talk about that briefly Monday night before we do our ranking. So stay tuned, enjoy. I might have some other content for you coming up this weekend, or oh, sorry, hiccups bad. So I might have some hiccups. I might have some content for you prior to the Billy Joel ranking. We'll see. I owe you, what is it? What year are we up to? So good question. I have to see, what year are we up to in the top 3 metal? I gotta get that for you. I think it's, what's it, 2008 maybe? I think it is. Come on. Yes, it is 2008. So yeah, so I owe you that. Working on that. Hopefully I should get that out there for you soon. So as I said, enjoy the Super Bowl, eat some chicken wings, don't drink and drive, be safe. I got hit from behind by probably somebody who had a few drinks last Super Bowl. So more than likely, I will be staying home and watching the game on my 65-inch screen, having some nice gourmet food. I know my wife Susan loves meatloaf, so I might be making a Cracker Barrel style meatloaf, copycat recipe. Check it out. It is damn good. So enjoy the game. Go KC. Bye.